Oh, wait,
All right,
you
hi, my name is Sarah Fleeman Levenstein, and I am from Ogden International School of Chicago. I'm the IB coordinator, and I'm presenting my project, Talking with Accountability. So our opportunity here is that we were Chicago's first community-driven school merger in Chicago history, and we've really put our students' social emotional needs first since then. And we feel like have a really strong SEL foundation that we now can focus more on academics and really increase student engagement and outcomes. So we feel like our Jenner campus, which is our middle school campus of our school, which houses grades 5 through 8, really was affected by the merger the most. And so we'd like to really focus on this campus, and we want those students to experience effective instruction on and assessment of accountable talk in all of their classes, with a focus on teacher and student self-reflection, so that our Black students in grades 5 through 8 experience growth in STAR 360 math and reading scores, so that classrooms are filled with joyful, productive learning experiences and collaboration in the service of the learning community, accurate knowledge, and rigorous thinking. And while I know that that is a mouthful, I'd like to draw your attention to the joyful, productive learning experiences part of that. And we really came to this after talking to and observing around 50 diverse students from grades 5 through 8. And we found out that our students really valued positive interactions, and they had really strong relationships with their staff, but they wanted to be more challenged in their classes, but they wanted to be supported in that challenge. And so we found out that they really want a more flexible and varied instructional format that results in different types of engagement with the lesson, their peers, and their teachers. So our question here is, how are we going to leverage accountable talk, which is a research-based instructional strategy, in order to increase collaboration, facilitate academic growth, and ensure that students have these joyful learning experiences so that they feel supported and successful. So this is our cycle of learning. And this is kind of what drives all of the changes at our school. So innovation, equity, and community is our school vision. And so that kind of drives everything. We assessed the current state of our school through a needs assessment that we gave to teachers. And we analyzed those results through our instructional leadership team. We also looked at STAR 360 data in our MTSS team, and then engaged in these empathy interviews. So that was a diverse group of staff members who kind of participated in assessing the current state of our school, but also we brought students into that process. Our goal here is really the theory of change that we've already discussed. And then this learning to inform action, we always want to make sure that we're centering ourselves in equity. And so we read a couple of texts, one article being, "Is your approach to continuous improvement colorblind?" That was the title of the text. And we really analyzed that as an instructional leadership team and talked about our own biases. And we plan on having the ILT share that learning and that experience and text protocol with the rest of our staff. And then our leadership team is also reading Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. And again, this is really kind of the foundation of this work. So in terms of the planning action stage, so that's all kind of already happened or in progress. But now we want to talk about creating a schedule for the next school year that's going to be conducive for teachers visiting each other's classrooms to make sure that everybody feels supported in implementing this new instructional strategy. And so our scheduling team by June is going to try to create a schedule that is going to make that a little bit more make our schedule more conducive to that. We also want to plan professional development that would happen in August of 2022. So that would happen over the summer to make sure that teachers understand accountable talk and how we came to this, and show them how what they said on their needs assessment kind of leads to this being chosen as our strategy. So throughout the first semester, and that's really where we're going to focus our efforts, we want to support implementation of accountable talk by making sure that teachers have time to collaboratively plan these activities, to visit each other's classrooms. We want to make sure that we're continuing to have this evolutionary perspective to change, which is that as we're implementing this change, we're bringing all these stakeholders in to ask how it's going. So formative program assessment along the way, and students as well. How are you experiencing this instructional strategy? And then that kind of brings us into this gathering data phase again, which will happen toward the end of first semester, where we're going to kind of go back to these needs assessments and our STAR 360 data and more empathy interviews with students to kind of see where we're at and how this change actually worked, and if we met our goals when our our MOI STAR 360 data comes out. So we're going to measure our success by we want to have our school to have glass walls where teacher practice and student learning and culture becomes transparent. So we have this goal of teachers visiting at least 3 other classrooms for at least 15 minutes every semester. We want teachers and students to utilize best practices for accountable talk. And we want to see accountable talk actually permeate our school culture so that it becomes part of all of school conversations with teachers, staff, administration, and families. We feel like the artifacts that we've created will benefit school-based teams who want to ground school initiatives in equity and triangulated data and continuous learning cycles, and implement accountable talk in their classrooms and with adults in their buildings. So here's how we plan on using the funds: empathy experiences, paying teachers extended time, showcase of accountable talk at the end of the year, parent education night, and aesthetically pleasing signage. Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep.
Okay, you have about 3.5 minutes for questions.
I'll jump in. Thank you for that presentation, Sarah. I'm curious. I'm still trying to sort of see the connection between the empathy interviews and then your team landing at accountable talk as the strategy. Could you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we had our empathy interviews with students, they talked about how when they were in their classrooms, they felt like that while they had strong relationships with their teachers, that they felt like the interactions like among their classmates were not as strong as it could be. And they also discussed how they felt like, and maybe this is coming off of the pandemic, I think a couple students talked about that, but that a lot of their learning is kind of just like sitting and receiving and doing a lot of independent work. And so, and that's where we kind of got to this idea that, you know, they were like, we want more challenge, but we want to be able to talk to our friends as well in that. And so this is why we felt like this strategy made the most sense.
Thank you.
So is the goal to increase the student conversations with each other during their lessons? And if that's the goal, how will that be measured again?
Okay, so accountable talk has kind of 3. I didn't have time to go into the details of the strategy itself, but accountable talk is really about being accountable to learn, like the learning. So, so it's not just talking like in general, but like accountable to the learning, accountable to rigorous thinking, and then also accountable to the learning community. And so the idea is that like through collaboration, students would be able to increase their engagement with what they're learning in class, and that, you know, an effect of that would be to increase students' outcomes on standardized assessments, but not through this kind of like skill and drill format, but more through this deeper, joyful engagement with each other and their teachers.